This is my start of day 3 eastbound in Wyoming. 23 degrees, 40-mile-an-hour winds. It's like another planet out here. Still Highway 80. I'm gonna turn south towards Denver on Interstate 25 and then hit Interstate 70. Later in the morning. Beautiful and empty is Wyoming. This is Green River, Wyoming. Not much to it, a couple truck stops and a river. That's the Green River. It's really windy, 40-mile-an-hour winds. Blowing every which way. Mainly from the north. We'll keep it toned down a little bit on the speed with this wind. Check in with you later. This is Rock Springs, Wyoming. The first part of it. First part of Rock Springs. Sprinter is really aerodynamic, but not sideways. And the wind coming from the north, because we're headed almost due east. Wind comes from the left at 40 miles an hour. It pushes the flat part of the Sprinter really hard, so going pretty slow, going like 65, even though it's 75 and 80 mile an hour speed limits, just to be safer. Rock Springs is the biggest town I've seen in Wyoming, except for Cheyenne coming up ahead here. That'll be bigger, but mostly it's highway and mountains without many buildings or things to see as far as civilization. We're going to turn south up ahead in Cheyenne on Interstate 25. Get a little bit farther southern route. 80 continues north. I think through, even through the Dakotas. Maybe just Nebraska. But it continues northeast, and we want to go southeast, so 70 will take us on the right, more direct path into southern Illinois, and then we'll head almost due south from there. There has been a lot of construction on I-80. You can see the westbound lane is totally closed, and they're just using the eastbound lane for both directions. So with this wind, you got to be really careful with staying in your lane, because there's nothing between the oncoming traffic. But hopefully this will clear up pretty soon. I don't know if they schedule the construction for certain times of the year, or they just do it when they need to do it. But be happy when we have our 2 lanes going one direction again. It's about 8:15 in the morning, so people are going where they need to go for work and stuff. It's fairly congested for this part of the state. I'm sure this normally looks just totally wide open. That's where the construction started, so that's where they shifted over. Anyway, we'll go slow and carefully for the next however many miles, and I'll check in with you when we get clear again. Alright, we got our 2 eastbound lanes back. Quite a ways to go still up to Cheyenne, 200 miles or so. Alright, just crossed the Continental Divide. So everything here flows east, everything back there flows west. Feels like making some distance. I'm in the Mountain Time Zone. I've been in the Mountain Time Zone for, I think when we crossed into Utah, a few states back. One state back. Hard to remember. But we got a lot ahead of us still. It's interesting how far west the Continental Divide is in the United States. But I think it said 6,200 feet, so we're still pretty high. High plains of Wyoming coming up on Cheyenne. Still a ways up. 160 miles maybe. I believe these mile markers are now reducing. That one was 160 to the state line in Colorado and Wyoming. We'll see though. I have done this trip before on Interstate 80 and other interstates across the country. Several times actually. Maybe 5 times. 4 or 5 times. So when I'm not sure where a state line is or when an interstate changes to another one, it's because I just haven't done it that often. But I have done it before. It still keeps it pretty interesting too. It's not like it's all repetitive. But if you're wondering why on a road trip I'm not sure where a city is or how far a state line is, that's why. It's just hard to remember. And actually these mile markers are getting higher, so that 166 means we crossed the state line 166 miles ago. And there's Laramie. Some towns you may not have heard of, but Laramie people have heard of. I'm sure Cheyenne. Just a big arc across the state of Wyoming. Southern Wyoming. It's supposed to snow here later today. 1 inch accumulation. Hopefully we'll be through here by the time that happens. It looks still pretty clear. I have not seen any rain or snow on any legs of this trip. And this is my 12th day, I believe. 12th or 13th. So that's pretty amazing. But I like it. Anyway, hope that explains my lack of knowledge of exactly where stuff is on these different interstates. I do know how to get back without GPS. We have no cell reception here, so I know I'm going in the right direction, and I do know the interstates enough to know 80 to 25 to 70 to 57 to 24 down in towards Atlanta. So I could do it without GPS. It's always kind of cool to see GPS though and know exactly where you are. But here we go, long and straight for another stretch. Alright, first precipitation on the whole trip. Little snow flurries here in Laramie, between Laramie and Cheyenne, Wyoming. 30 degrees, going up a little elevation. It's kind of cool to see it, but I'm hoping it doesn't amount to anything. Now we're going to be heading south in about 35 or 40 miles here, 8,600 feet, so we're pretty high up. We're heading south and getting out of the weather, hopefully, if there is going to be any here in Wyoming. But Colorado too, you know, same chance of some winter storms still late in the year like this. But we'll see. Alright, so we're turning on to Interstate 25 off of I-80. Thank you, I-80, for the clear, safe ride. Fort Collins and then Denver, and then Interstate 70 will turn back east. Right now we're headed due south. We turned on to Interstate 25 just on the outskirts of Cheyenne. And it's cold here in Wyoming now. It got down in the 20s again. We saw a little bit of flurries, but nothing amounted to much. There is a winter storm warning on the interstate signs for tomorrow through Friday. But luckily we missed it, or it missed us. Alright, leaving Wyoming behind now, Colorado, soon Denver, and then we'll turn east. Coming up on Denver again, this time going east. Still on 25 here, we're going to turn to the east pretty soon. Going due south now towards Denver. But we want to get on 70 and start our way back east again. This is 270, a little loop around Denver, and it's about 2:30, so we're going to see some traffic here. Hopefully not too much, too bad, and we'll get on 70. But like all big cities, this is what you get when you get into the afternoon. And it's nice to be back in civilization. The West is great, all that great frontier and open space, but it's nice to have internet and phone service and all that good stuff. That'll last a little bit, at least through this metropolitan Denver area. About 3 miles till we get to 70. Denver Airport on the right. And our entrance to I-70 right here on the left. And we'll be on 70 a little bit. Alright, this is going to be a wrap for the day. coming up to Travel Center here after 608 miles. We're in the nice flats here east of Denver, so this is a pretty easy drive, this last leg of it. First parts were pretty tough with the wind and the cold and the snow threatening and all that stuff, so kind of glad to call it a wrap today. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Alright, this is going to be a wrap for the day. Coming up to Travel Center here after 608 miles. We're in the nice flats here east of Denver, so this is a pretty easy drive, this last leg of it. First parts were pretty tough with the wind and the cold and the snow threatening and all that stuff, so kind of glad to call it a wrap today. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.